You don't just find stories in books. You also find them in different things all around you. Songs, dance, poetry. The artist is the chronicler of our times, the one person you can count on to tell us genuine stories. On Teachers Genuine Stories every week, we travel across the country to find you original storytellers and their stories. Thank you. On Teachers Genuine Stories, I have found a line that is apt for our quest for stories and all our storytellers. The line is, the universe is made up of stories, not atoms. This is something the street artist and illustrator duo of Harshvardhan and Rajvardhan Kadam swears by and often refers to. Harsh and Raj use public spaces to tell ancient stories from our mythology. They call this Mythopolis, which literally means mythology in the metropolis. This duo is behind India's largest mural on the wall, Yerwada prison, a stunning depiction of the story of Pune. They've created over 40 equally arresting pieces of public art all over the country. For them, public art must be kept alive so that our stories and history stay relevant. For today's story, I met up with the Kadam brothers, who believe in transforming walls through their eclectic art, because for them, their canvas is literally the world. Harshvardhan Kadam, the storyteller I'm about to meet, briefly toyed with the idea of becoming an architect. He didn't eventually pursue architecture, but followed his heart instead. Kadam champions art in public spaces. He says it's an ancient tradition of Indian storytelling, quite like the sculptures in Ajanta and Ellora, and that this tradition must be retained. He's doing his bit along with his brother Rajvardhan. They're trying to bring alive stories on walls around the country. Harsh. Hi, I'm Rahul. Raj.
Hi.
Hi. Come.
Yes.
So, the first question that I really want to ask was that how did you decide that you were going to use this as an expression of your creativity, your creative impulses?
So we grew up looking at our parents draw. So they made comics, Amar Chitra Katha.
Correct.
So that remained with us and we are following the same.
So there were toys also, but there were paint brushes also. There was a team of illustrators that my dad sort of monitored, and they used to teach us that this is how you do it, this is how you ink, this is how you use the brush. And they just kept us engaged with all of these things, and that sort of kept on pushing us to push further.
When did you realize that not only did you like what your parents were doing, but if you did it, you were quite good at it? Who was the first person who told you, yeah, this is good, you should pursue this?
In my case, it was my dad. Although I wanted to be an architect, but there was something that drawing, I think it's the destiny. So I failed at science.
So what did you do for your bachelor's?
Studied fine arts, which introduced me to the world of visual arts. and applied arts and design.
When did you decide to not follow in your brother's footsteps, but certainly follow in the family's footsteps?
At that time, I was really into football, but I couldn't make it through because of an injury in the knee. But there was this safe place to fall back to, which was
Right.
drawing. So I kept on pursuing it.
When did this collaboration start to take place?
There were two phases of collaboration, I would say. One was when mom introduced us to a vacuum cleaner that we used to paint something.
The
And-
outer end of the vacuum throws off air.
Yeah.
And there's a spray bottle.
Yeah.
And then there were walls of the house.
Yeah, so mom put in color in that and she said, I'll show you how to make stencils. So we took newspapers, we made them in shapes of leaves, we put them on the wall and she said, do whatever you want to.
Fantastic.
So we made a forest inside our house. That was on a very non-serious note. It was summer vacation. And since our interests and our work aligned, there was not a lot of questioning to do. We just started working together. And my first project was about making comic books.
So you were commissioned by someone to do it?
Yes, it was for a brand called Virgin Comics.
Right.
They were making a lot of comic books. I was figuring out what else can be done in Bombay. Since I was young, wanted to experiment and draw everything and everywhere, finding an opportunity over here. Started working with production houses to design characters, with gaming companies to art direct how the look and feel of a game would look like. And sometimes I also used to pull him in to help me with the research, designing weapons. So he was always in the loop of whatever projects were going on.
Comic books, gaming,
Gaming.
and the next phase?
Then a lot of music festivals and surfing festivals started popping up. I went to Varanasi, which was really the point where a lot of things and choices for me changed.
Brilliant. Tell us about it.
This beautiful ancient Indian landscape right besides Ganga. You're walking over there and you come across graffiti tags by international artists that you followed, like Space Invader. I saw some of the pieces he had made over there. I had tools, I had drawing with me. I saw walls. I said, why not just take over one of the walls? And at that point, a new chapter opened where I'm seeing graffiti over here and I'm questioning, what is it that as an Indian, I could bring to a place like this
Right.
and just follow what I really want to.
Today, when you guys are collaborating, when you guys are making art, where do you draw inspiration from?
For me, it's always been nature and everything around. So a lot of our forms are organic, and nature has her own visual language, which is far more evolved than any of us artists would ever get there.
So public art, call it street art, public art, art that is available to anybody who walks by and sees it. How much of this would you say forms the pie chart of the various things that you guys do as artists today?
We've always loved to have a dialogue with art. Even while making comics, when we saw parents make these panels, dialogue was such an important part of every drawing. For us, public space completes that experience. Every time we make something, we want to begin a dialogue. We want to start a conversation.
That idea of using this to start a dialogue of a certain kind, whether it's political, whether it's to do with saving the planet, whatever it might be, activist, is that forming part of your preoccupation, or is it still in the nature of pure art on the walls of a city?
So public art, when we are creating something, it's balance of multiple things. Essentially, the aesthetical value of what an artwork creates
Of
in
course.
the city, So for a normal point of view, it like spaces start looking interesting. Yes, we love it. When we're making a painting a small tree, it has its own effect. People want to use it the way they want to use it. And while we were making one artwork, it was still a work in progress. It was a massive tree. This one person, at around 1 p.m., he just sat below a tree and passed out over there, slept.
Harshvardhan tells me that the biggest compliment for his art was when a man slept under a tree he had painted on a wall. That is why Harsh is so committed to art in public spaces. It makes it accessible. It connects with people it would never have reached out to otherwise. Exactly the way a good story should. Take us through the genesis and what is Mythopolis, where has it come from, and what is the thought process behind it?
The closest stories which remained as a major part of our upbringing was Amar Chitrakatha. It spoke about mythology in a lot of interesting ways. Even while the gaming projects were going on or even animation projects were going on, they're all based on mythology. Why not have a contemporary interpretation of these aspects in public spaces? On accessories everywhere. So giving mythology a contemporary visual identity or image was something that excited me.
How do you want Inkbrushnme to grow in the future? What do you want that entity to mean in years to come?
So one of the visions we now have for our studio is just going ahead in all possible directions and letting art take over the world. In a way, we experience art every day at a different level, and we want to recreate that experience for everyone.
Let's get to the big project, the Yerwada jail project. Tell us all about it.
In India, it's the longest wall that we could think of
I see, it is.
having an artwork. Yeah, it's the largest artwork of the country. Every time we used to cross this, we used to look at the wall and look at each other and said, someday. Times when the intent and the dream is powerful, everything just falls into place. That's what happened with this. We were approached by Pune Binale Foundation. They asked us, can we do something over here? So we were in a conversation for almost 4-5 years to see what can be done over here. We got the permissions sorted from the central authorities. So the government supported us, the foundation supported us, and they gave us a free hand to create something. We had in mind that this will be something that is Pune, that represents Pune. And since it was a gateway to the city, we thought, why not create the story of this city? So then we got into the technical aspects of it. We divided the entire stretch into pieces, I think 75 pieces, right?
75.
Yeah, so from one direction, the past of the city begins, historical, then the architecture, evolution of that, then details of, character, the reasons why Pune is known, Oxford of the East, some really interesting architectural places.
How long did it take you to finish this, from start to finish?
It was about 20-25 days with few breaks. So there was one more artist with us. There was 3 of us and one fellow for production. And it was the 4 of us with all the natural elements like sun, wind, heat, everything.
So what am I going to see this evening? What's going to happen?
We want to take art beyond walls, beyond surfaces. And one of the things that we always talk about, that we are putting in life on a wall. So here we are experimented a little with life. There will be elements, there will be characters,
That's exciting.
there will be a lot of music, there are words.
Wow. So I can't wait to see what you have in store for me this evening, because you've really whetted my appetite with this multidisciplinary thing happening. So I shall leave you to it. See you in the evening, Harsh. Thanks, Raj.
Thank you.
And we'll chat later. Yes. Thanks.
See you.
The air around here certainly feels very different. This is a new experience for me on this show's journey. Even though Harsh was all mysterious about it, I have managed to get Raj to give me a few details. What we're going to see is a comment through the eyes of time on how nature has changed through the ages.
I'm Harshvardhan.
And I'm Rajvardhan.
We have created a special artwork for you.
It is about the story of a planet called Earth from the perspective of time.
Hope you enjoy it.
There was nothing, and I was. I am, and I will be. I began to weave a fabric of nature into space and created this universe with stars, planets, and moons. I then moved to the creation of a very special planet with land and water. I created a form which will multiply and evolve, the cell. I was curious to see where all of this might lead. As the forms began to evolve, I witnessed that beauty began to manifest in abundance. Life thrived on this little planet. Down the line, a curious being evolved, the man. He wandered shyly across the land and lived in caves. Every day he learned more things about this world and used them to his benefit. There was something special about man. He was powerful and could change the course of this planet. Man settled down from his nomadic life and began farming for food. He thrived and took forms of different civilizations across the globe. There was immense love and harmony between man and nature. Gradually, greed raised its ugly head. Mother Nature endured as man, her stubborn child, killed, pillaged, and destroyed. She had spoiled her child, which was hard even for her to accept.
She turned a blind eye to what prevailed, even though it was hurting her. She kept on forgiving her child, hoping one day he would realize what he has done. Man was relentless. He was consumed with greed as he continued to distort the planet. Man now was a reduced shadow of his former self. As man wreaked havoc everywhere, the planet began to live in terror. Even Mother Nature now realized that her child was beyond redemption. Filled with hurt and rage, Mother Nature began to fight back for herself and her children. Her rage began to manifest in earthquakes, tides, storms, and reckless thunder. Can we go back in time to our natural and ideal state? Or do we continue on this road of destruction? The choice is ours. What shall we choose?
Artists dare to dream. They dare to make the impossible come true. Harshvardhan and Rajvardhan breathe art and aspire to project their art onto the moon someday. What a marvel that would be. Join me again next week on Teachers' Genuine Stories, where I meet yet another artistic duo for whom too the sky is the limit.
While we were making one artwork, it was still a work in progress. It was a massive tree. This one person At around 1 p.m., he just sat below a tree and passed out over there. Slept.
Harshvardhan tells me that the biggest compliment for his art was when a man slept under a tree he had painted on a wall. That is why Harsh is so committed to art in public spaces. It makes it accessible. It connects with people it would never have reached out to otherwise. Exactly the way a good story should.